everything. You're already everything I want.
Deprivation. So this is the other thing that happens. So have you ever done, now I don't know, for those that as well have been in the community for a long time, you would have seen I did like the all or nothing approach, where people yo-yo or did that big pendulum swing. So they're really good for a period of time, but they're like super strict. And then so what happens is you naturally will start to swing the other way, and you'll swing. So it's like the roller coaster effect again, right? Like, or a pendulum swing. You basically go from one extreme to the other, and you go, oh, I'm never going to eat sugar again. And it's like, well, what, are you just never going to, like, you're not even going to lick a potato? Like, that's just never going to happen. So, like, you're not setting yourself up for success, are you? And when you say, oh, I never want to eat sugar again, and then what do you start thinking about? Guess what? Some sort of delicious treat that you've told yourself that you're not allowed to have anymore, because apparently you're treating yourself like you're a dog that's only allowed to have treats when they're good or well behaved. Which, if you think about it, the language that you say to yourself and the way that you try and talk to yourself, I mean, you're fighting against yourself, but also you're not listening to part of yourself as well. So the way to flip this around, particularly if you're like an emotional eater, with the dopamine effect and like that, this is an opportunity for you to actually dig a little bit deeper. So if you think about it, if you feel like you're having to like be a really strict parent on yourself, then there's actually part of yourself that's not reconciled, and there's potentially an inner child that's maybe dealing with some trauma or some emotional issues, that's something that's unresolved within yourself, and you don't feel like part of you is actually being listened to, or part of you is being neglected. And so that part of you is going to fight for dear life until it gets its way. And it's going to be like a 2-year-old in a shopping aisle wanting the lollies that you told it couldn't have because they saw it on TV for 5,000 hours. So my point is that, yeah, being strict on yourself isn't going to work. You're going to have to work with yourself in terms of being a friend, and you're going to have to sit there and actually ask some other questions. Now, for those who have listened to some of my recent posts, one of the prizes in the 12 Days of Fitness giveaway, there was the the breakthrough package, and in that book, it sort of has those questions that you can gently ask yourself around, and some tools as well that you can actually sit there and go, hey, well, what am I actually really thinking? Or just getting you to gently ask questions, and you can either write them down on paper or just think about them, to actually take you out of yourself and use, like, an external reference to kind of pragmatically kind of get this out into the open and think through and talk your way through it, and to build some awareness around that. It's not saying it's going to fix it, right? Like, I'm not going to pretend that I suddenly have a psychology degree, or I'm a trauma healing breath coach or anything like that. That's definitely out of my remit. But by the way, Holly, I don't know if you're listening, but Holly is awesome at this. So is Jason. He's many years as an emotional intelligence coach, as well as a high performance coach as well, like that. So there's definitely people within this network that can help you with those sorts of things as well. But I think the main thing is to start with that awareness, because once you're conscious of it and you become aware of it, then you have a new opportunity, right? You're creating an opportunity to whether or not you want to make a different choice. And then you just need to have a little bit of discipline to continue making that choice, and how you want to support yourself in doing that. So I hope that all makes sense so far. Right, the tough love law. Now, this is one, again, around the all or nothing approach. Some people like to punish themselves for being weak and giving into cravings. And it's like, look, we're not Rambo. We're not going to be able to just, shoot ourselves out of how we're feeling. And you can't, it's like you can't go and save one person if you've just shot 10 people dead, right? It doesn't make up for it. There's no way. And those two things can't ever cancel themselves out, right? They're almost opposing things, even though they seem like they're on the same spectrum. They're really not. So, as I said, there's two aspects to this, right? So one, if you try and work out more at the gym to compensate, I'm going to do a really hard workout. Well, workouts only count if they're consistently done over time. And as I mentioned as well, what you consume in terms of the calories in a binge is going to far outweigh what you can do at the gym. And then what you're going to do is you're going to hate workouts, because it's going to feel like it's a punishment, because you're treating what you're telling your body through its actions, but also mentally, is then exercise as punishment instead of actually being something that's nourishing for your body. So you're simultaneously beating yourself up about the sugar, but then you're also beating yourself up about something that is potentially good for you. So you can see how that it's not going to set you up for success, right? The other one as well, and this again comes down to that emotional piece and not listening to yourself, is that you might start actually beating, you put a trigger on yourself, right? You feel guilty or ashamed, like you're the worst person in the world because, oh my God, you had a cupcake. Like, you're going to be fine. It's okay. And I can tell you that, but you need to sit with it and understand why are you doing those things? Because sitting there going, oh, well, yeah, I feel really ashamed, but I'm trying not to. It's like, well, don't try not to be ashamed because that's not going to happen. It's just be comfortable with the fact that you are feeling guilty or ashamed. And you don't have to necessarily make a decision to go over that. It's an invitation again to unpack that and to sit with it and to think, why is that though? And where does this sit into? And getting deeper into what do I really not feel adequate about, or what am I really feeling guilty about? Anyway, this is going down a different tangent. So you get the idea. All I'm saying is it gives you an invitation to ask some other questions. Now, this is one that I see quite often as well, is that people will skip dinner to make up for their earlier binge, or they'll fast for the rest of the week because they had like a big weekend. Again, it's the all or nothing approach, and this isn't going to set you up for success. So, all right, I've told you all the things that don't work. So what does work? Good question. So, as I said, well, I did not say actually. I was getting to that point. So cravings are messengers, right? So it is actually our body trying to communicate a need or a desire. And when you're not happy or you're stressed or there's something else going on in your life, it's sometimes much easier to reach for sugar than to deal with what's really going on. And that's okay as well. I think sometimes it is actually important to acknowledge that self-medicating is fine, because at that time, you don't know any better, right? You're in pain or something's not feeling good. And so your way of coping is to actually self-medicate. And sometimes that will be sugar, sometimes it'll be alcohol, sometimes it'll be something else. You're going to have times when that happens. When it happens all the time, and that's your default reaction and you're not conscious of it, that's when, potentially you might want to address it. And it gives you, again, another opportunity to go, okay, what am I really hungry for? What do I really want? What do I really need? So it's really an opportunity, again, for you to sit back and to listen to yourself. Does that make sense? So I think a lot of people will say, oh, no, you shouldn't smoke, you shouldn't drink, you shouldn't do that. Well, look, yeah, you shouldn't do a lot of things. But again, if you only know one of those things, well, if you don't do those things, you're going to implode. So sometimes we do need a coping mechanism, and that's okay. That's basically, anyway, you get the point. I'll move on. All right. So as I mentioned as well, so underneath that craving, there is usually an emotion you are trying to avoid. Sometimes as well, it could actually be that you are actually just at your wit's end. Like, I don't know if anyone else had it, but I definitely did, and I definitely experienced that with my team at work, is that people were at the end of their tether coming into this Christmas season, coming into those, like 2021 has been a tough year. It has been a really tough year. And that last 4 days, 5 days, getting into the before Christmas, people were just at the end of their rope. You could see it in their face. You could see they were trying to push through just to get last things over the line. You'd see they weren't thinking straight. They were stressed, and then they were creating more work for other people because they just didn't have anything left in the tank to keep going. And that is why I was sort of having a dig before, saying that I think we've ended up in this state of survival, a lot of us collectively. And on one hand, in 2020, a lot of organizations benefited from people having more flexible work, and productivity went up. And now in 2021, we've had significant headwinds, pressures, all sorts of unknowns, and people have expected everyone to kind of work at an increased level. Oh, and there's less staff around as well because people are quitting. And they've expected people to kind of keep up that level of productivity without any, sort of consideration to sustainability. And I think the other pieces as well, personally speaking, is, there's a lot of rhetoric then around, oh, just build up your resilience. And it's like, or maybe you could just manage the workloads better. Maybe we don't need 90% of our times in meetings that are pointless. Just a thought. Anyway, point mover. I'm going on a different tangent. So basically, again, when you're talking about cravings, it's around your body seeking to balance itself, right? So, and the more you ignore it, it's exactly the same as that little voice. Like if you try and tell your voice no, or if you ignore part of yourself that's actually sending you a hard message, the stronger that craving will become. So, are you feeling low in dopamine, for example? Like, does your life lack joy and pleasure, and so you seek it through sugar? So, I don't know if anyone else got to this point, but there was a period where work was particularly hectic for me, and I felt like I was just going through Groundhog Day, particularly because we had like quite a long winter as well. And I felt like I woke up and every day and I was like, okay, this is not as good as even Groundhog Day because Bill Murray and Andy McDowell aren't in this movie. So what is going on? I hate my life right now. I don't even know what I'm doing. And so I had to, but that was an invitation for me to go, okay, well, what is it that you do need? And then it was like, oh, well, I haven't seen my friends for ages. I haven't done something fun. I haven't done something for me. And so I was able to sit back and go, okay, well, what are things that you need to look after you, and then go and do those things. And so sometimes actually taking that moment and almost snapping and just going, no, I'm out, I'm done. And then actually taking the moment to actually think about what you need can actually help. And then the other piece is as well, are you being hard on yourself? I do this all the time. Kind of have to when you do bodybuilding to a degree. But anyway, beside the point. Yeah, you are always going to be your biggest critic, right? So, oh, thank you. Thanks, Rochelle. You said you have to. Oh, no, you said have a good night. Thanks, Kirsty, for joining us. And yeah, I hope you got a bit out of that. Yeah, so if you're being really hard on yourself, then, this is where you need to sit and actually try and have a little bit more empathy towards yourself. Because I know there's a lot of carers in our group, not just carers in terms of a domestic sense, but also carers in roles where you actually do work with people and actually help them in either a medical capacity or a community support capacity that has a lot of emotional toll on yourself. And quite often, people who work in those roles tend to think about others before they think about themselves. And so that can also, mean that sometimes you're neglecting what you need. So it's really important to get clear on what that is. All right. So other reasons as well. So other reasons that you might need to check for sugar. Now, this obviously is not intended to be medical advice or anything like this. It's just things to consider when you go to the doctor, because sometimes we are going to have things that are happening in our body that is going to lead to reasons that you're craving sugar outside of you just being nice to yourself, right? Like, yeah, there's an element around your emotional well-being and you having an opportunity to unpack. But, if you tell a fish that's in like water that's contaminated, oh, we'll just think positive and just sit with your emotions, it's still probably going to die because you just need to actually change the water. So the point is, sometimes you do need to look at what else is actually going on from an environmental perspective or even just from a physiological perspective, right? So getting regular checks with your doctor is always recommended. And then, yeah, you could have things like an insulin resistance, you could have pre-diabetes, you would have some hormonal imbalances. Your sex hormones are actually a big driver in terms of your overall well-being and also your reasons for craving sugar. Cortisol, obviously, from stress, and thyroid is really important. Now, thyroid's really interesting as well because we have no naturally occurring iodine in Australia. And so now I'm not suggesting that you go and take any thyroid medication or anything like that, or try and find foods with iodine. Most of the salt that we have actually has iodine added to it. Fun fact. But yeah, through eating most of a normal diet, you should still be able to get enough for what you need. But thyroid can really affect, your basically your whole endocrine health and metabolism and so on. So it is important to get on top of that. Anxiety and mental health obviously plays a big role, and then gut infections as well. So A lot of your parasites, if you do have any of those in your gut, will actually love sugar, so they will play a part in you wanting that. And then obviously poor nutrition and nutrient deficiencies as well. So if you're having a lot of fast food and takeaway, then you've also got the added hit of the trans fats, which I talked about before, but also a lot more sodium than what you need added to that as well, which obviously makes you more dehydrated, and then you obviously crave more sugar and salt and so on as well. So it's, again, that spiral. Okay, so I guess, look, and I've crossed out the hard work bit here because it doesn't actually have to be hard work. But basically, if you want to make a change in terms of 2022, then sugar is a good start. And you just need a little bit of work, a little like conscious work, a little bit of patience, and just a tiny bit of willpower. But the trick is here is that it's practiced over time with the right support and accountability. And that's what will actually create the sweet success. All right. So in case you didn't get the hint before, I am running an Incredible You in 2022 program. Unfortunately, I've just been made aware that 2022 is pronounced as 2022, which is obviously a hilarious meme right now. But I want to flip that to the Incredible You in 2022. So the sweet deal, it's a 12-week transformation program from the comfort of your own home. There's no diet, no exercise, and there's a pragmatic coach, of course, obviously with the habit stacking that I talked about as well. So we should talk about practical things that you can do that can fit in, because we're starting with health and nutrition first and foremost rather than exercise and mindset, because the reality is all of us eat already, right? So if you already eat, well, we just need to make some changes to an existing habit, and that's the best way to do it. And then we do some habit stacking. And there's group coaching, and essentially the idea as well is that you'll buddy up with someone else in the course as well as your accountability partner, because this has been quite deliberate, the group sessions, because, and this works for, you know, things like Alcoholics Anonymous, not suggesting that we're doing a Sugarholics Anonymous or anything like that. But the whole premise is actually around that community support, but also when one person in a group setting believes that you can make a change, for some reason, there seems to be a correlation with more people in that group actually being successful, like much more than if you were to do it on your own. So that's the reason that I've designed a group coaching session to support the course. And the reason being as well is that I could do another online course, and there's a plethora of courses. But as I said, the value isn't so much in the information I share with you. The value will be in you actually turning that information and translating it into knowledge through action. So today as well, the course is normally $997, and I'm offering the first 2 people only the full 12-week program at half price. So that'll be 2 people who are live now and 2 people who watch the replay. So let me know if you replay, and that you just need to either email me, message here, DM me, however you want to do it. But the first 2 people will get the program at half price. And then to further sweeten the deal, there's actually some payment options. So you can make one payment of $497 and lock it in. The course starts in February. Otherwise, if that's too much, then I've actually made it affordable. So you can literally transform your life for $50 a week. Just 12 payments of $50 a week. And then the other one, if that's too much, well, $30 a week. So if you're telling me that you can't afford $30 of just a little bit of time and effort to change your life, then I think you've got some other issues that we need to talk about. But yes, so these are the payment options. But basically, if you're interested in that, then I will send you the link, and it's limited, as I said, to just the first 2 people on replay and 2 people live. And I've got, I'll come back to the question time, considering I don't know that anyone on the Facebook Live is still there, or whether or not it's even working, because I can't play the video without them doing the double feedback sound, and nobody wants to hear that. Let me just have a look. Any questions? Michelle, did you have any questions since you're actually in the call? No pressure, by the way. It's okay.
Yeah, you're all good. You covered it pretty well, I think.
Awesome. Okay. All right. And then the only other thing, oh, yes, that's right. There was a freebie as well. So the freebie, if you would like a, sorry, I love a good cheesy pun. So if you want to get started with a smooth operator, which is basically a smoothie recipe collection, it's available through my app. Here is the QR code. If that doesn't work for you, let me know. I will send you the link. Essentially, you can, those recipes will come to your phone once you download the app, and there's nothing you need to do. There's no payment options in the apps. There's no push notifications. There's no give me the name of your firstborn child to access the app. It's completely free. And basically that program's assigned to you, and then you can have it on your phone for forever and a day. So yeah, so if you want that, that's there. If you want to get in contact with me, obviously those already in the private Facebook group, you know where to find me. For those who aren't, by the way, it's got a weird, it's called Fuck Exercise because that was the name that everybody voted for. So yes, sorry about that if swearing offends you. There is also a public group as well, which is very boringly named Fitness, Nutrition and Mindset, so that people understood what it was about. And then I've got my website there, my email there as well. And that's just a little bit more about what the business offers. So that was really it. And looks like I am 6 minutes away from being on time. So look, guys, really appreciate you dialing in. Thanks to all those that actually registered to attend the event and dialed into the Zoom and so on. And yeah, if you've got any other questions afterwards, please feel free to DM, comment on this post. Feel free to share this post if you think there's somebody that might get some value out of that. Oh, and actually, while I'm here, there's 2 downloadables that I've put straight in the Facebook group. And I emailed these out earlier as well. So if you're in the email list, so make sure I'm on your email list if you want this. So there's a couple of free downloads that, and I might resend them actually with the slide pack as well. So one is like a self-care menu. So the idea here is that if you want to think of changing that routines that we talked about before, then I've got a couple of examples there, but you just create your own menu and stick this on your fridge. So, you know, you can fill this out, add to it, print it out as many times as you want, and then that's yours to keep. And obviously as well, you can, you know, use a PDF version of it as well, so you don't have to waste paper, have it on your computer, have it on your phone, whatever. And the other one is a healthy snack cheat list. So basically, you know, these are a list of foods that you can have instead of a sugary treat. You know, if you're curbing, still have a bit of a sweetness to them if you're curbing a treat. So that is available for you as well. It's in the guide section of the Facebook group, and you didn't get them, then let me know and I will send them out to you. All right. Also as well, feedback is a gift, guys. So tell me if you like this, if it was helpful or not, if you want to see more content like this, if you don't, if you do. Yes, the more you tell me, the more I can get things geared to that. I'll let you know when the willpower workshop will be dropping, and just a reminder as well that the guest speakers presentations is happening on the 8th of January. So yeah, thanks so much, everyone. And yeah, and thanks, Rochelle, for being a trooper and staying online the entire time and being our strawberry connoisseur and critique.
Anytime.
I think that needs. I'm going to have to turn that to a meme, I think. All right, I'm going to end it there. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.